Today we're using the AC method to factor quadratic expressions. This is our quadratic, and first of all we have to factor it in order to solve it. How do we know that the ECA is asking us to solve it? Well, typically it's going to say solve, but since it's set equal to 0, that's how we know it's asking us to go ahead and solve it. The first thing we need to do is factor it. So since everything's already set equal to 0, we can go right ahead and make our little x, which helps us know what we're factoring. We are going to be using the AC method, so that means that AC goes up here, the products of A and C, and B goes down here. Since 6 times negative 24 would be a negative 144, we put that on top, where we had our positive 6 and our negative 24. And then we know that we want our factors to add to 10, so we can put 10 on the bottom. Now we need to find out what two numbers are going to multiply to negative 144 and add to 10. Multiply to the top of the x and add to the bottom, or add to the middle of your quadratic. We know that the factors have to be opposites, because in order to get a negative number when you multiply, you have to have opposite signs. I kept playing around with the calculator and also using some rules, and a positive 18 times a negative 8 came out as a negative 144. And I also saw that a positive 18 plus a negative 8 got me a 10. So they multiplied to negative 144 and added to 10. Next, you're going to use this chart to go ahead and rewrite your quadratic expression. I like to call it rewriting the sandwich, or recreating the quadratic sandwich. Essentially, you have the middle of your sandwich, which is this 10x. It's kind of like a grilled cheese, and you got your bread, which is this 6x over here, and this negative 24, your outer pieces of the quadratic, and your middle is that 10x, like your cheese and your grilled cheese. But if you want to have a different kind of sandwich, you want a peanut butter and jelly, we need to rewrite this expression so that we have peanut butter and jelly in the middle of it. So here is your peanut butter, and here is your jelly. So we're going to keep our outside bread the same, our 6x squared, and our negative 24 is also going to stay, so if you want to just leave some room in there. But we know that we have to have our peanut butter, so our plus 18, and since it's part of the x, we have to put an x on the end, and our negative 8x, which is like our jelly. Right? Now, being a good friend, we're going to go ahead and split our sandwich down the middle, because sharing is caring. And to continue factoring this, we're going to switch over to thinking about GCF. So what is the greatest common factor of just the left side? So our 6x squared and our 18x. Well, the biggest number that goes into both is 6, so we can divide them both by 6. And then an x goes into each of them, so we can divide them each by x. Right? Now we're going to keep our greatest common factor out front, so the 6x. And inside goes our answer, so the 6's would cancel, and we're left with an x. 18 divided by 6 is 3, and our x's cancel. Let's look on the other side. What's our greatest common factor here? Well, an x doesn't go into both, so it's just our negative 8. And you want to always divide by a negative if this first part over here is a negative. And if it's positive, you can divide by positive. It'll make your factors work out really nicely for you. Our negative 8s will cancel, so we'll have x, and our negative 24 and our negative 8 will get us plus 3. At the end, all we need to do is stick our two outsiders together, so 6x and negative 8, and let's put them in their own little group. And we need to write the x plus 3 once. The reason we don't write it twice is it's already being distributed up here and up here. So when you go down here, you're essentially writing it as a FOIL method, and you don't want to end up having more x plus 3's than you really need. Alright, you may be wondering how we solve this. Now, it's a little bit more advanced than what we were doing before. We can fit that over here. What we do is we take both of our factors, so we have our 6x minus 8 and our x plus 3, and we set them both equal to 0. So you'll have two-step equations for each of them to solve. So for the first one, you would add 8 to both sides, and you get 6x equals 8. Divide both sides by 6, and you get x equals 8 6. And we can reduce that fraction, divide them both by 2, so you get 4/3. Okay, so 4/3 is one of your answers, and the other one is the opposite of what's inside your parentheses. So we have x equals 4/3, and this one's a one-step equation, so we know that our other answer has to be x equals a negative 3. And we have our two solutions. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do another one that involves different signs just to get you practicing. And you can stay tuned for that video, and I'll post them both separately.